Welcome, bout betters. Well, Joey and I had a gambling strategy or plan for this weekend, and it was to focus or load up on the bouts and fighters with tight lines or numbers. And scanning the card, the most obvious bet was Tom Aspinall at dog money. He is now the favorite at minus 121. I anticipate him to surge way above minus 150 by week's end. Another bout that really stood out was the match between Arnold Allen and Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is now the minus 121 favorite, and Arnold is the minus 104 underdog. I actually bet Allen as a further underdog, and now as of today, which is Tuesday, that line is even. And I anticipate some continued line movement with Hooker becoming the favorite. Hooker has a 5-inch reach and 4-inch height advantage, which will be a factor as Hooker may be the better technical kickboxer. Hooker has vast more octagon experience with 10 more fights in the octagon, and that is 2 more than Arnold's 8 total fights in the UFC. Yes, Arnold is undefeated in the UFC, but he has faced nowhere near the level of competition as Hooker, who has faced staggering more stiff UFC competition, with the most notable metrics being the total opponent UFC record and the total opponent UFC record amongst wins. Hooker has 3 losses in his last 7 fights, but those losses were to Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Islam Makhachev, all championship caliber fighters, while Allen has gone the distance in all but 2 of his bouts with no one but Sadiq Youssef or the retired Gilbert Melendez of note. Hooker has a vastly better XR number and XR percentage. His fights also more commonly end in distance, with Arnold being a decision machine. With no losses, Arnold Allen has never been knocked down, knocked out, nor submitted. Hooker has 2 losses by knockout, but Arnold Allen has no knockouts in the UFC. This is a tough matchup for strongman Arnold Allen. Arnold is durable, but the size disparity is going to present some challenges, as Hooker has a diverse striking skill set, who has been involved in far more kickboxing, striking type matches. He possesses a huge kicking advantage, which he uses in volume. He strikes at range with good movement, volume, and accuracy. Hooker has a tested Muay Thai style that is more polished than Arnold's. Arnold is super quick with his strikes, very fast, but technically probably won't bring an arsenal that Hooker has not seen. Arnold will depend on his hand speed and good movement to attempt to close distance and make contact. I think he's going to be reaching a lot and is going to be exposed to Hooker's power shots and his jabs. Hooker's very comfortable at range and is effective fighting long, but Arnold is aggressive and strong and will be willing to eat one to get in on the inside, close distance, and possibly even take Dan Hooker down. But the ability of him to close distance and get some control time is going to be central to Arnold's defeating Dan Hooker. The defensive metrics are a bit padded, as Hooker has far more octagon experience. Yes, he can be hit, but he has solid striking defense. He is excellent moving defensively and countering with kicks. He has very good balance, so even if Allen catches a kick, Hooker is effective on bringing it back while not falling. He's also good at keeping those kicks coming. Hooker's kicking game could be the decisive factor in this bout, as he will use those kicks to set up his power left hand. Arnold may not get Hooker's respect on the feet, but may find success in the clinch, where he is excellent when on the power side. But he needs to be careful of being reversed, because when he's on the backside of the cage, he's the one that gets stifled and becomes inactive. He also accepts that position for too long, and Hooker is great in the clinch and has far greater rate of control in clinch time at 66%. They have near identical takedown rates, attempts, and submission ratios, but Hooker is more versed in counter wrestling and counter submission grappling. City Kickboxing has some of the best counter wrestling as a team. Arnold is more comfortable with the offensive grappling. He uses it to his advantage for looking for a finish or some kind of solution in terms of control to change up the game, change the pace, etc., etc. He will not be able to remain at distance with Hooker, and I think Hooker will have a huge power advantage and will be more dangerous in the close quarter engagements if Arnold cannot tie him up. The line on this bout continues to fluctuate, and I think Hooker should be a minus 150 favorite despite coming down a weight class again and fighting in hostile territory. His experience and range advantage should be an additional decisive factors coupled with his own durability and strength. Arnold's team has got to maximize his speed and grappling to devise a plan to win, and I propose he fights like a Mighty Mouse type fighter. He needs constant motions, mixing in takedowns and some control time. He cannot win a kickboxing match against Hooker. I placed a bet on Allen at plus 110. It may have been too impulsive. Gladly, I did not parlay him as I chose Aspinall as my pillar for the same price. It's a risky bet, and I may regret it, as if Hooker has a decent weight cut and has a good camp, he could win this easily by a decisive unanimous decision. Until there's value on Arnold, I would avoid him. He may become a greater dog style, but if you're on Hooker, I would jump on him now. But let me know in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And if you've made it this far, you are a bout better.